Good morning and welcome to Bay Sunday. I'm your host, Sue Kwan. Now, today's show brings us 3 segments with book authors and then information on an upcoming fashion show fundraiser. And as a reminder, we are on Facebook and we'd love for you to become a fan of Bay Sunday through Facebook. Lots of behind-the-scenes photos are there too. Now, our first guest is no stranger to Bay Sunday. He has joined us before. Please welcome with his latest book, Be Yourself, Everyone Else is Already Taken. Mike Robbins, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Now, this current book is Authenticity. Why focus on this topic now?
Well, I think it's important to all of us, whether it's in our work or in our relationships or, it's become this buzzword all over the place, be authentic, be yourself. But I really wanted to take a look at it kind of on a deeper level because for me, while it's something that I'm passionate about and I've always sort of taught in my workshops and with my coaching clients, it's also something I find pretty challenging, and I think a lot of people do. So the book is really delving into why it can be hard to be authentic, and then how we can be more real in our work, in our lives, and in the people, with the people we interact with.
It comes at such a good time because I think in a recession, all of us are humbled, especially people in business who you speak to often. So how can authenticity translate to success or translate to the bottom line or translate to a better life?
Yeah, well, it's a great question because I think right now a lot of us, for a lot of different reasons, are kind of going through some fear, some doubt, some concern. My corporate clients definitely, a lot of the individuals I coach and work with. And when we get scared, which we often do, one of the best things we can do is actually admit it. One of the principles I talk about in the book is actually to transform your fear. And that doesn't mean that we pretend we're not afraid. It actually means that we lean into it more. One of the examples I use personally from my own life is how scared I was to get married. My wife and I got married about 4 years ago. And, my folks had split up when I was a kid, and I was really scared to do that myself. I wasn't sure how it would work out. But even though it was a little counterintuitive, I actually admitted those fears to myself and then to my then girlfriend, now wife, Michelle. And in doing that, it actually liberated me and had me feel more comfortable, more willing to go ahead and get married. And I think a lot of us spend a lot of time walking around pretending that we're not scared when we are, which takes a lot of energy and ends up being more stressful than if we just admit it.
So the authenticity and transparency, knowing what is the base of your fears, is part of your guidelines in here?
Absolutely. And right now, with what's going on in the economy, people losing their jobs or people being scared, whenever I go in to talk to groups of people and people are scared they might lose their job, one of the things I suggest that they do is just look at more deeply what's really going on, how do they really feel, what do they really want in a more genuine way, instead of pretending that everything's fine or complaining about how bad things are.
Now, you don't just preach, you actually have some hands-on ways to achieve these goals of being authentic. What you were saying, keep a journal. One of the things that I was reading is work on your shadow.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, the shadow is a psychological phenomenon that Carl Jung made sort of famous in the 20th century, and it really is, the idea is there's shadow parts or kind of negative parts of ourselves, and the idea of really working with our shadow is making peace more with aspects of ourselves that maybe we don't particularly like. And one way you can pay attention to and be aware of your shadow is notice the stuff that you judge in other people. The stuff that really, right? It's hard. But if you look at life like a mirror, so when you get really irritated, oh, I can't believe how arrogant he is, or oh, she's so selfish, usually that means there's something going on within us that we're worried that that's part of who we are. And if we can actually make peace with that aspect of our personality, what happens is we don't have to spend a lot of time trying to avoid it or pretend it. We just have some freedom with it, and then it just gives us more freedom to be ourselves in life.
And authenticity, when you focus in on yourself, there's so many things that make us do that these days, Twitter, Facebook. We're also focused on ourselves. Can being too authentic make you too egocentric, a little,
Well, I think it's a good question because there's a difference between being self-absorbed and being authentic,
I'm
right?
glad you touched on that.
So self-absorption, and a lot of us, look, we're all Twittering and Facebooking and, oh, look how great I am and what I'm doing, and that can lead us to be a little self-absorbed. But being authentic is really about being real and vulnerable, even though that's kind of an odd word to use. I think it's really powerful when we're vulnerable, when we're honest about who we really are. It's not about bragging about ourselves or being self-absorbed. It's really about sharing more of who we are genuinely. So we got to be careful with all this social media and everything, because the tendency, I think, is to portray a certain image as opposed to really be ourselves. And that's ultimately, I think, the goal, and that's what really liberates us.
And that's, I think you hit on the word vulnerability and transparency. It's great, very interesting. It's called Be Yourself, Everyone Else is Already Taken. And we're going to give people information on how they can find it. For information on Mike Robbins and his book, go to cbs5.com/BaySunday. Click on Show Information and then Be Yourself. Now, his book is in stores now, and he'll be speaking at the Commonwealth Club in San Francisco on June 8th. And we'll be back after this break with another author, Dossie Easton, who will be talking about her book, The Ethical Slut, A Practical Guide to Polyamory, Open Relationships, and Other Adventures.